Don't be a fool like me. Instead, use these 4 simple tips when you're trying to land your next video project. Talking to clients is a skill, and I've learned how important these tips are the hard way. To have a good conversation about a potential project, both you and your client need to have a good understanding of how much you cost. Getting this conversation out of the way first is essential. If the budget isn't right, then you can end the conversation there, saving you both lots of time. Multiply that by the frequency that it happens, and you'll save yourself a staggering amount of time in the long run. Easily set expectations by giving your day rates, or your standard costs for a project of this type. Don't be afraid to set boundaries that, if crossed, start adding to the cost of the project. For example, mentioning that more than one round of revisions isn't included in this cost means your client will be much more likely to respect the process, especially post-production. Be engaged with what the client is saying. Create an environment where people feel comfortable telling you their ideas. Everybody wants to be heard, so knowing that you're listening will help build that rapport between you and your client. By understanding where they're coming from, you can ensure that your pitch fits in their criteria. On a side note, do write notes while they're talking, but don't sacrifice the conversation as a whole just so that you can keep notes. If you struggle being engaged in the conversation and writing down notes at the same time, that's okay. Ask them at the beginning of the meeting if they mind being recorded for a transcript. You can then use this to go through after the fact and ensure you got everything in the brief correct. You can offer to send a copy of the transcript back to the client, which is a great way to re-engage with them once the first meeting's over. This then helps cement you in their mind, especially if they're shopping around for other freelancers. Now, part of listening is knowing how to prompt for the right answers, so ask the right questions. Asking very basic, grounded questions about their goals will enable you to identify exactly what it is they need. What does your ideal customer look like? What advertising are you already doing? And what would your ideal outcome for this video be are great places to start. Typically, smaller organizations or individuals aren't quite sure what they need, and they may just have a small selection of themes and ideas to build on. While planning, always think from the perspective of that final viewer to make sure you're keeping on target. This final tip is maybe the simplest of them all. It's more about the experience working with you rather than the product itself. Falling below expectations can be a painful experience for both parties. Give yourself some room to excel. It always feels good when something arrives early or it looks better than you ever thought it could. However, don't go too far. Focus, work hard, and take pride in your work. Don't game the system. It's really important to build a foundation of trust, and don't lie about how long it's going to take you or the things that you can and can't do. Delivering on a promise is great, but it can be good to always strive for the best possible outcome. I wanted to share my experience with you, and I hope these tips have resonated and that you'll be able to use them in the future when communicating with clients. Good luck. Hello. A big event tomorrow you need a video for? Not much of a budget? Okay, sure. Exposure. Well, I guess that sounds alright. Need it finished as soon as possible. Well, I'm sure I can bump you to the front of the queue. Huh.